Okay, second day of trading for the eval practice, and it's looking like we are still kind of on this uptrend. This is the 4-hour chart, of course, and we took an overnight dip down and have kind of leveled off at the high from June 12th, which is right here. That's not the latest, that's not the greatest support area, but it is kind of a support area. I would say there is the possibility of it dropping down to that 50 SMA here, which is at 60.51, or actually, yeah, thereabouts, 60.50, something like that. And then, of course, down here, the more extreme place is the 6,007. I think it would have to be a pretty big piece of bad news in order to make it drop down there. It's also possible that it will not drop. We'll see when we zoom in a little bit further. Anyway, the MACD definitely looks like it's turning down. Actually, I hadn't noticed that the first time I looked at this chart, but there it is. And the 1-hour chart here, if we zoom in a little bit, the MACD is looking pretty good. And let's see, the RSI, that was what I noticed on this one. The RSI is actually gaining momentum, so that is good. It's looking like it could definitely head up. It kind of hit that SMA here and bounced off of it. So there is reason to think that there's a fairly strong bullish momentum at this point. I think, let's see the 15-minute chart. I've still not quite updated, or did I? Yep, maybe I did. All right, so I updated the volume profile over here. So definitely we have this over here from the previous high, and it has, it's dropped down. But it is holding, and the RSI here is showing a gain of momentum, and this is probably the clearest chart where we can see that. We can see the peak here is higher than there, but it's lower. So that's one reason that I think it probably will not go down too far before it heads up again. Okay, so another confirmation of that very thing. The SMA here, or the MACD here, is looking like it could drop further. So we're just going to wait. We're going to see what it does at this support area right through here. Okay, the 1-minute chart, and I got all of the overnight information on here. This is what the volume profile looks like. We got a lot of orders up here. The POC is up there at the previous day's POC. I think it just hasn't. That's not super accurate information. I think we're in the process of changing at this point in time as well. It's 8:37. So I don't put a lot of stock in that quite yet. All right, and then I zoomed in, so the candles were a little bit more than normal size here. So we've got information since 5 a.m. and that made that POC drop down to 60, 63-ish level, which is kind of where it's sitting right now. So I mean, you can look at the 1-minute chart here and see this is where the original SMA that I thought it might go down to is, and there is a little tiny cluster of orders down there, but I really don't see it dropping down that far, at least in the first few hours of the day when I'm going to be trading. I think it'll probably drop down to around this level and then bounce up, if it even gets down that far. So the 1-minute chart since 5 a.m., the POC changed to 60.67. So this is the same period of time as that one, and you can see that the POC is starting to head up. That means that more orders are being placed at a higher level. That's one big sign of bullish momentum that I was putting a lot of stock into. And let's see, the RSI here is losing momentum, so we want to be cautious, but remember, this is the 1-minute chart. So what this is telling us is that we're probably going to be dropping down to here. That's all the RSI information is telling us at this point. Because of the longer term charts, more stock is put into it going up further. The RSI is gaining momentum. All right, so we're still waiting, and there it dropped down to that point. So that was awesome. And I was waiting for the candles, because this is still 8:52 in the morning. It's moving fairly slow, and I was waiting for the candles to show like they were going to start heading up, and then I was going to get into a long and ride it up, because that I thought was the best trade for this moment, looking for the MACD and everything else to kind of line up there. All right, and this scared me a little bit. It dropped through it, and I had just a second before, I mean literally not even hardly a second, had decided there was a green candle here, and I decided it was going to bounce, and then it broke through it. So it's like, okay, I need to wait a little bit longer. Still good bounce at this point. I mean, dropping below an SMA or above it, just going beyond the SMA is not necessarily a sign that it's not acting as a support still on the 1 minute chart, but it does show us that maybe we want to be a little bit more cautious. All right, and it's fighting really hard. It's hard to see on just a still screenshot, but when you're watching the candles form, it's fighting that drop really, really hard. All right, and at this point, the MACD is looking pretty good, and the RSI is starting to go up just a little. So I went ahead and placed an instant limit order. I've got these settings on instant placement. So when I click over here on this chart, it automatically puts in an order right there. I could also do a buy market, and it would just get me in wherever. But I like hand picking where I get in a little bit better with the limit order. All right, and then at that point, I'm going to drag my my bracketed orders from that point. What I'm not sure about is when I was actually doing the eval, I don't know if that gave me those buttons or not. I kind of think it didn't. So the instant order placement, if I did it that way, it didn't work the same. So that's unfortunate because I really like placing orders like this. It's a lot quicker to get in, and then you can take a couple seconds to decide where to put your brackets. But anyway, okay, got in there, and I figured it would probably get up to this point here, which was, you know, not the highest high there, but it was a decent amount, and that was a really good trade. 475 in one trade is spectacular. And then I put my original stop order just below the bottom of these low candles right here. Did end up changing that right here because it dropped down, and I still really hadn't changed my mind about it going up. I was seeing a lot of bullish momentum, and I figured it probably wouldn't go down that far. The reason I chose this was because the volume profile here, 70% of the orders were in this dark area, and so I'm below that point. I am on the bulge of that, but not the highest bulge. If you see this line right here, this is a higher. There's more orders recently, I guess, placed right there than down here. So I figured it probably wouldn't drop down that far. All right, and it's 9:01 at this point. Let's see what happens. Okay, it started to head up, and I was very positive. And then it dropped down again and tested that level again, which is fine as long as it doesn't drop below it. I zoomed out a little bit here, or maybe not. I guess it's still on the 1 minute chart. Just shifted it around. All right, and it did go right down to that low that it had formed over here. And just looking at this general picture, it's losing steam, and the MACD is starting to turn. And I was really getting worried. I mean, 225 is not that big of a loss, but it's decent. That is a little uncomfortable. All right, and so I think I caught this just as it stopped me out. You know what had happened here? Oh, that's what happened. Okay, so at that point, it had dropped down. I'd left my stop order in place, and I think let me go back and look. So I'd put the stop order on 60.55, and it looks like it came down at this point to 60, I don't know what. It was really, really close to my stop order. But then it headed up, and I was very, very hopeful. And it's 9:21, and I'm getting a little worried that it's not going to get up that high before the opening bell. And to me, that's just, I don't know, it's a little bit risky. I don't like to be in this position when I'm starting to doubt myself a little. So I lowered my limit order and thought, well, I'll hopefully get out a little bit sooner. And put it on the bulge again at the in that dark area of the volume profile, which is more of the trades. And then I also raised up my stop. So just below the crossing of the SMAs here, and that would be break even, because this is the point where I got in. So my stop is now at break even, and I thought, well, that's the best case scenario. If I get it, great. If it gets stopped out, then I will at least have not lost any money. And of course, it dropped down and stopped out. And then it went up at opening bell to right where I thought I was going to go, and a little bit beyond. So I missed out on that trade because of an overabundance of caution again, which just seems to be kind of the thing that I lean towards doing more than anything. But the upside is that I did guess that trade right. It just scared me enough that I didn't want to wait it out. And I don't know, just sitting here watching it, if that's maybe not the best of ideas, or if that was the right thing to do. I mean, it's hard to say. That would have been an amazing trade had I gotten it, but I was being cautious, so that's a good thing, I guess. So now I got to wait for a better opportunity to get in. I'm thinking it'll probably drop down to like the POC here or the crossing of the SMAs, somewhere around that area, 60, 61, 63, something like that. So that's what I'm waiting for to get into a long. And I didn't have to wait very long. It started to drop, and then it had a great big green candle. So I decided, well, I don't think it's going to get down any further than that, which is not terribly surprising. So I got into an order here, put my exit order right at that crossing point, and the high from June 11, which was a few days ago, I put my exit order in up there because I figured that was a pretty decent place for it to kind of think that it needs to go to, even though there are no volume. There's not a lot of volume up in there. So I thought that was, I don't know, an interesting place to put it. I could always lower it down later, but that was my guess. Alrighty. And I zoomed out to look at the bigger picture, and you can kind of see, yeah, that's not a bad spot to put it, honestly. Right there. It kind of had a ceiling level that it hit. Definitely could go up higher, but that does seem to be a decent place. I do not disagree with that. And the MACD as well on the 1 hour chart is still heading up, of course. So, all right. When it hit this point, it had a great big green candle and dropped down. I'm only at $162 loss, and I'm really believing in this trade. I really think it's going to go up. So I lowered my stop down to a really kind of painful level, but I didn't think the likelihood of it hitting that was very good. I think it'll probably hit this and find that as a support and then head up. So I put it there for better or worse, and it looks like it is holding, so that's good. It's starting to head up again. And at this point, I'm kind of trying to figure out, okay, I still haven't completely decided what is the best way to handle a trade like this that you're in and it's just barely in the green. Like you've barely made enough money, you think it's going to head up. Is it best to lower the limit order or leave it alone? Is it best to raise up the stop and lock in profits and possibly get stopped out? That's kind of what I did on the first trade. I'm still not 100% certain here. All right, and zooming out, it's still the 1 minute chart, but I'm looking at all the overnight information, and the volume profile doesn't change a whole lot. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see, I suppose. It's definitely struggling right here. It's thinking about what it wants to do. It hasn't completely made up its mind. All right, and it kind of petered out again at the peaks that you're seeing here. So I'm kind of questioning whether I am asking too much of this trade. So, let's see, I think what I did, let me go back. I think what I did here, this is my stop right through here. So I raised up my stop. I could have gotten out right here at $200, but I put my stop just a little bit below that in case it went on up. And then I got, but then I got stopped out before it headed right up to that line that I thought it was going to go to. So I only made 137 on that trade, but that's pretty good. And I ended up guessing right where it was going to go almost exactly. So that was another confirmation that I'm reading the market right this morning, and that my system is working. So that was the second trade, and I guessed right on both of them. I only made profit on one of them. A small profit in my book, but that's good. Okay, and I waited for another drop, and it bounced up from point higher than the SMA. So again, that's kind of confirmation of a bullish, on a very small scale, a bullish sentiment, at least right now. Okay. What's interesting, I don't know how to read this yet. This is still that volume profile that I'm still trying to get used to. But it looks like all of these orders right through here are exactly the same. And I just can't help but wonder if that isn't some sort of what do they call them, whales, or the smart money, or the big banks that the brokers that trade many orders all at once in a section. So I think that's actually pretty decent confirmation that it's going to get up to this point again, and maybe beyond. But I'm happy with this point right here. So I waited for it to drop and then show a big green candle, got in, and have again my my stop order way down here. It's huge loss. That would not be a good thing if it hit, but I don't think the likelihood of it hitting it that low is very high, so I'm not worried about it. Heading up, and I'm trying really, really hard to just wait this one out, because I've thought it through, and in the moment when the candles are rising, that's when the emotions play with you. And when you've gotten into the trade, you can be a little bit more objective. And so I think that's maybe where I'm leaning is towards just thinking through what's happening and then setting it and then not changing it. Maybe that's a better way to go. I don't know. All right, and of course it went up and it got right where I thought it was going to go again. And so that made me a $400 profit for the day, and I'm done.